UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. I am your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. Thanks so much for joining us here. If you have not hit the subscribe button, please do so. We're up around 220,000 subscribers. I want to thank each of you that come here on a daily basis and check us out. I'm going to be talking about a timeline here, a UFO timeline. I think you'll find this interesting, but first, a word from our trusted sponsor. Hey folks, L.A. Marzulli here. And you know, a lot's going on right now in the world, and this is why I rely on my Patriot Supply. We've got 2 stashes of them. They're fantastic. I believe in their product, which is why we're advertising it here. Their mega 3-month emergency food kit comes jam-packed with 33 varieties of filling and delicious foods. Not only does that include creamy chicken-flavored rice, old-fashioned Italian spaghetti, and savory, cheesy broccoli soup, but you also get a bonus protein kit with diced beef, flavorful chicken chunks, and 3 varieties of beans, plus 9 different fruits, vegetables, and snacks. Folks, all in all, this emergency food kit provides a whopping 2,500 calories per day to keep you well-fed and ready for anything. The way I see it, it's my solemn duty as an American to protect my family without waiting on handouts. And that starts with food you can depend on for up to 25 years. Go to foodwithla.com. That's www.foodwithla.com. You can save $300 on your mega 3-month emergency food kit. It ships fast and free. Once again, foodwithla.com. That's foodwithla.com. Folks, we love my Patriot Supply, and we've got quite the stash, so we are ready for anything. I want to walk you through something here, and I was the reason why I did this is I was talking about this on a recent interview. Someone was interviewing me on their podcast. So I said, wow, you know, I've never really done a show on this, and let's do a show on it. So here we are. So we know this. In 1945, just walk with me here. 1945, the United States drops the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima. Several weeks later, the second one is dropped on Nagasaki, the Japanese surrender. That's a line of demarcation. That puts us into a completely different world than the world before the first atomic bomb is dropped on a city and thousands of people perish. That's a trigger, in my opinion. That's a trigger. So what happens? That's a huge trigger, because right after that, we start getting reports of UFOs. In 1947, so 45 and 47, you get what? You get the Roswell crash. We have our 2 films, shameless plug, I understand that. That's why we went there. Roswell was sort of the beginning of it. But all these UFO sightings are now, it's starting to increase, okay? 1948, Israel becomes a nation. That's an end time prophecy, right? And and this is something that you need to put down, in my opinion, in your quiver. It's in my quiver. It should be in our quiver. All right. What I mean by quiver is when people come at us and say things like, well, you know, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. They're entitled to their opinion. You can think what you want to think. But prophecy, and I'll be talking about this again in another show on prophecy, Amos 9:14 says this: I will gather the captives of my people Israel. Check. I will gather the captives of my people Israel. They will build the waste cities and inhabit them. They will plant vineyards and drink the wine from them. They will also plant gardens and eat the fruit from them. I will plant them in their land, and never again will they be pulled up out of the land I have given them. 1948. Israel is one of the largest exporters of fruits and vegetables in that area. It is the promised land. These are the real Jews. The whole Khazarian thing has been, you know, debunked numerous times. There are people who still hold on to it, just like there are people who hold on to the flat earth. But as usual, I do digress. So you've got 45, 47, and 48. Then everything kicks into high gear. Stay with me here. Stay with me. Before 48, alien abductions, we don't hear about them. There's maybe some isolated cases, people having encounters. That's a whole different deal. From 48 on, it kicks into high gear. Daniel 2:43 says this: that their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. The word cleave is what we get way back in Genesis, where a man will leave his father and mother and cleave marry his wife, cleave to his wife. But in Daniel 2:43, there is no cleaving. They will not cleave to them. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. Who are they? What are we talking about here? And then the angel tells Daniel what it's going to be like when that prophecy. Seal up the words to this book, Daniel, until the time of the end. What's the time of the end look like? Men and women will run to and fro over the face of the earth, and knowledge will increase. This is where we are now. From 48 on, all right, from 48 on, the abduction phenomena starts to take off. And what we are seeing is an evolution, if I can use that word, of hybrid children. We know that the first generation looks very sickly. They have long, stringy hair. How do we know this? Because the experiencers, the women who are re-abducted, sometimes 4 or 5 years or even later than that, are taken aboard the ship and they're asked to have some sort of relationship with this entity. And most of the women are just blown away. They don't want to hold the entity. They don't want to look at this hybrid being. It looks very sick. It's more alien than human. It's got very large, dark eyes. That's the first generation. The second generation, this is where David Weberly comes in with the idea of the black-eyed kids. They're short. They're stocky, as Karen would say, Karen Wilkinson. They're short and stocky. They look human, but they have black eyes. And how do we know this? David Weberly's work, we talked about it in our Watchers series, where they just can't come in. It's almost like vampire lore. They have to ask for permission before they come in. You know, let us in. Is it food time yet? Let me in. We show this in our Watchers series. We'll go for a short ride. This won't take long. Seriously? And the people that encounter these black-eyed kids are absolutely terrified, totally terrified of them. And we show in the film, there's some very, very detrimental after effects when people encounter these entities. All sorts of stuff can happen. I'll give you an example. So this woman goes into a market, a grocery store, local town, small town, and she leaves her 8, 9-year-old son in the back. So nothing wrong with that. She's only going to go in and out. She knows the town. It's safe. It's not like New York City. You wouldn't do that. But sorry, New York. But she can do that. She knows the area. She goes in, she comes out, and she opens the door, and there's this kid sitting with her son. And the kid's got black eyes. Well, she totally freaks out. She grabs her son, runs into the grocery store, calls her husband, police come, kid's vanished. A week later, okay, well, let me stop. So she's afraid to get in the car. She won't get in the car. Her husband gets in the car, the van, and within a few miles, he has a horrible accident. That's the first thing. Then the child who had an encounter with the black-eyed kids gets deathly sick. And it's like going downhill. Finally, the entire church prays and fasts, and the child is healed up. Folks, the supernatural world is real. And the breeding program is real. That's why we published Karen's book, Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. If you've not had a copy of this, you really need to get it, because it's a deep dive into the abduction phenomena. So the second generation of the black-eyed kids, in my opinion, the third generation, and this is where we get Al Matthews' testimony, and also others. Let me do it again, 3, 2, 1. The third generation, and this goes right into Al Matthews' testimony, that the third generation look and can pass as human beings. But as we know, and this was in our very first film on UFOs, and it's available, it's streaming at lamarzulli.net or lamarzulli.com. You can go there and check it out. The bottom line is, this woman had these dark wraparound glasses. She could pass as a human being. Al said she was a very pretty lady. So she was constantly harassing him on the phone because Al gave this woman his phone number, and he goes up, and the rest is sort of history. I won't tell you all of it, but I will say this. When she finally reveals herself, the eyes shapeshift, Al totally freaks out and gets the heck out of there. And this is how he comes to the Lord. He's terrified at what just happened, because he entered the world of these hybrid entities. Now, there are people out there who will scoff at this and say, where is the proof? We've had too many reports of people that have had encounters. One of them, right on this YouTube channel here, probably about 2 years ago, a gentleman came on, and I'll tell you the story real quickly, and then I'll sign off. But he came on the record telling us he and his friend, his buddy, they're construction guys, and they're in his pickup truck. His buddy's in the passenger seat. They go to a fast food restaurant. They make their order. Now they come to pick up their food. He reaches up. He gets bag number 1, hands it to his friend, reaches up again, is about to take bag number 2. And the woman who is staring at him, the face shape shifts. Half the face becomes an alien face, sort of iridescent. And they look at each other. She realizes something's just shifted. She covers her face and runs away from the window. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not. It's there. They are walking amongst us. That's the title of Dr. David Jacobs' book. So what we see with this timeline, there is an acceleration of the breeding program, which ties back into the biblical prophetic narrative of Daniel chapter 2, verse 43. Folks, the supernatural world is real. What the Bible tells us, this mingling of the seed, their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave. There's no marriage, which is exactly what we see happening. Lots to talk about, lots to talk about. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, folks, that UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. Hey, folks, L.A. Marzulli here. I'm an author, lecturer, and filmmaker. We now have 14 books that are penned. The latest book is called Rungs of Disclosure. It'll be coming out in October. But here's the deal. In 2017, something happened on Tucker Carlson's show. Tucker was then on Fox News. He had this man, a former F-18 pilot. The man's name was Commander David Fravor. And he had an encounter, that's right, with one of these things, a tic-tac shaped UFO. He engaged in this thing, and when finally the craft left the scene, it left like a bullet being shot out of a gun. When Tucker Carlson asked Commander David Fravor, in your opinion, what was this? Commander David Fravor looks right at the camera and says this: it was something not from this earth. Folks, that's the first rung on the ladder of disclosure, on the disclosure ladder. It's happening. UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. The books are not yet available. We'll have them probably in October, but the pre-sale, once it's up and running, it'll be an autographed copy. This may be the most important book I have ever penned.